What's good, y'all? This is Lucius, and I'm here bringing you guys another video. I wanted to tell you guys Happy New Year. So sorry I haven't been posting any videos. I've been real busy during the holidays, so I hope you guys enjoyed your holidays and everything. I know this is all different now. You guys are used to seeing me outside, but today I'm actually in the sound studio, in the sound lab. This is a place where people record at. This is also a place where people do their editing for their videos and stuff. So I'm real excited that I'm kind of back in my home, in a sense. You know, this is home for me. You know, anything that deals with music and film and TV and stuff, this is home for me. This is the arena that and the career path that I was on before this whole spiritual path opened up for me, which is something I'm going to talk about in this video. I've been getting asked a lot of questions about how did I get on this path and what led me to creating House of the Sacred Woman and stuff like that. So I wanted to share my story with you guys, you know, be personal and stuff. You know, this is very personal for me and stuff, and for me to do a video and to send it out to the world. You know, this is something that I probably wouldn't have never done years ago. But I'm comfortable with myself. I love expressing myself, and I like talking about my journey and my path because I hope to inspire others as I've also been inspired by others in their path. So anyway, so my whole journey began back in 2012. It began with this meditation group. What was very significant about this meditation group was they practice Kundalini meditation. Now, for me, I had never meditated ever at all, ever, and I'm really surprised that my soul and my guides and the universe decided, hey, you know, I think it would be good to start Lucius out in Kundalini meditation. And those of you that understand Kundalini meditation, you know that that's it's kind of like advanced meditation. But that was something that my soul was leading me to do. I found this group on Meetup, and so I had went to it, and it happened December 3rd. Now, I had no idea about what was happening on December 3rd, and I did not find out not till about a year or two later what was going on that date. But apparently, there was this huge alignment with the Giza pyramids on the day that I decided to go meditate. Now, what's very interesting is that on that day that I meditated, I had these visions of Egyptian symbols and hieroglyphic writings and stuff. And then I remember seeing myself like basically fall into this big energy ball of white light. And when I did, like my whole body like was electrified. Like it was like almost like I was receiving like I was being electrocuted in a sense, like by lightning or something. Like I was totally just like so much energy just came in during that time frame. So I literally was out. I remember they came over and they woke me up, making sure I was okay, making sure I was good. And I just remember like, oh my gosh, is there any water? Like I need some water, blah, blah, blah. And so, so they gave me some water. They gave me some fruit to eat because they told me that it'll help ground me. And so I did. And then they, you know, asked me, you know, hey, what happened, blah, blah, blah. And so I told them exactly what I was experiencing. So the next day, when I woke up from that meditation, I woke up like a mad scientist. It was like Pandora's box had completely opened up. And I remember just understanding numbers. Like I went into this whole like Rain Man phase where I just understood like numerology. It was very strange. And so I was writing down numbers, and these numbers were like telling me information about the people in the group who were the organizers of this particular group. And so we had meditation the next day. I went back the next day, and I shared with them what I was receiving throughout the day. Now, the woman who was running this particular meditation group, because she was hosting it at her house. She had turned one of her rooms into a whole like meditation, Reiki, hypnosis, spiritual room, right? So I told her, and she was like completely blown away. She was like, she's like, I've met people that study numerology, and what you're telling me is even kind of beyond what they even know about numerology. And so I was like, all this happened since, the first night that I came here to meditate and stuff. So anyway, the second person who was also an organizer, who was actually partnered up with the main organizer, the one who was hosting this particular meetup. This priestess was from South America. Very, very intuitive, very clairvoyant woman. Like she, I've met a lot of spiritual people, and just to kind of give you a little backstory on just me. I grew up Christian. I grew up basically going to church every Sunday, attending Bible study and all that stuff. When I was 3 years old, my dad was a youth pastor. So he's been involved in ministry, basically my whole life pretty much. So I grew up in ministry, was trained in ministry, was supposed to be in ministry and be a prophet and blah, blah, all this kind of stuff, and evangelist and everything. But what I have experienced in 2012, I've never experienced in any, and I'm talking about like I went to all the revivals that happened in the 90s. Like, I don't know if some of y'all that may be a little older remember all those revivals that were going on in the 90s with like Benny Hinn and all those. Like I was in that whole circle. Like I was involved in all that stuff. My family, we went to all that stuff. So we was part of all that. We was part of the whole, spiritual laughter and all that kind of stuff. So I've been around and all this kind of what people may know as the Azusa Street revival kind of energy. So I grew up in all that. So anyway, but I have never experienced what I have experienced with what I'm about to tell you guys about, with this encounter with the goddess. So this priestess, I won't mention her name, just but she started speaking and talking to me about the goddess. Now, when I was younger, this is what's kind of funny. So when I was 8 years old, my earth father thought that it would be good for his kids to really know the Bible. So he made us read the Bible every freaking summer. Okay, like that's why I know the Bible so well, because I've read it so many freaking times. Just because my dad being in ministry, and it was so prevalent that we needed to understand Bible. And every time I would read this book, there would be certain things in there that would always I had questions about, and also kind of bothered me a little bit, because one of the things that bothered me was how women were treated in the Bible. It felt like God really didn't love women for some reason, and I started to think like, okay, like God is really that mad because Eve just ate from an apple? Like that just really didn't make any sense to me. Once again, I'm 8 years old thinking this stuff. Another thing I'm thinking while I'm 8 years old is, why is there all these beautiful supposed male angels, but yet there's no female angels? Like I was very confused by that, because I'm thinking at 8 years old, if I'm God, I'm gonna surround myself with goddesses and female angels. Like I'm not gonna have like beautiful male angels around me. Like that, me personally, you know, if I'm gonna be a god, I'm not gonna have I'm not gonna have that. I'll have male warrior angels for protection and fighting off negativity or anything that's going to be causing harm or whatever. But I'm not going to be like, oh, I got a bunch of beautiful male angels that surround me and that's supposed to be all ooh and ah for me. Like, no, to me, I thought that was very weird to me. That was very strange to me. And so when I was 8 years old, I asked my dad. I was like, um, I'm like, how come God doesn't have any goddesses around? Like, I was so confused by that. I'm like, why does he have not any goddesses around? He doesn't even have his own like goddess. Like, really? It's just only just about the only love that he has just for him and his son. That's it. Like, he doesn't have no goddess by his side. Like, I thought that was very strange. So I got in trouble for asking that question. I think I probably got a spanking for that too, knowing him. So yeah, so I got in trouble for asking and wondering why God didn't have a goddess next to him. So anyway, moving forward to 2012. So this priest started telling me about the goddess, and at first I was like, wow. Like I knew this was like something true. And growing up, the goddess was always considered something mythos. Like, oh, there's no such thing. Like, oh my God, I can't tell you how many times I've been told there's no such thing as goddesses at all. No such thing as goddesses, blah, 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 whatever, And she was telling me, some things, and I was just remember just sitting there listening. But it was not until we had this real powerful. Now, keep in mind, this is like maybe about 4 weeks have passed, and I'm talking about like we were really diving deep into some practices, and it's so amazing how quickly I started to learn a lot of practices very fast, and so I remember we had this particular meditation, and this priestess who she had got up and she went around the room, kind of speaking to each individual person, and we all had our hands out like this, that's something I was taught, that when you meditate, or you're in any kind of form of meditation, or if you're in any kind of healing group or whatever, look at me, I might close my eyes, I'm just feeling the energy. Like you can really feel the energy. Like when you have your hands out, you're letting the universe, you're letting your guides or angels or different star beings, whoever you're working with, you let them know, like, I'm open to receive, whatever you have for me. So I usually have my hands out like this, and so like my hands are getting hot right now. So she came around the room, and she put her hands, or hovered her hands over mine. Okay, and it was so much like this, like energy force between my hands and her hands. It was nuts. And then all of a sudden she had spoke to me. But when she spoke to me, I knew it wasn't her. That it was the Mother Goddess speaking through her to me. And the energy and the love that I felt, because this love wasn't love that I felt growing up. This love wasn't love that I felt in church. This love was far beyond human comprehension, because it was unconditional. And when I felt that, oh my gosh, like it felt like what I was missing, I finally found it. That's what it felt like. I was missing something, and I found what I was missing. And that energy was so powerful for me that it was like I chased after it, because I wanted to be more drunk in it. in a sense. You know how like when you get addicted to something, and you're like, oh, I gotta have more of it. Well, that's what it is. So basically, I got sprung off the goddess energy. Basically, I got sprung off of it, right? So, I can believe I just said that right now. Anyway, so anyway, I so I wanted more of it, and it got to the point where um, things started to get kind of strange because the person thought it was her, but it was the goddess that I was really pursuing, because I knew she was going to show me something that I've been looking for. Now, keep in mind, now, prior to this, I've been involved in a lot of other spiritual groups. Like I'm been involved with Muslims. I've been involved with Catholic. I've been to every spiritual system you can think of. I've been to Jewish temples. I've read the Torah, like everything. Even some secret society groups that I cannot even mention right here online. So anyway, so I've been involved in a lot of stuff, and out of all these different groups that I had experienced, because once again, I was in Hollywood. So being in Hollywood, you get introduced to a lot of stuff. And so I was fortunate to be introduced to certain spiritual practices. But yet, all of them are all lacking something. And what I've learned is that they all lacked the knowledge and the power and the love of the goddess. That was the thing that was missing out of all these groups. And so that's why I had separated myself from everyone. And I went on a total hermit journey in 2013. That's when it started for me. And it's very interesting because 2013 was known as the year of the serpent. So that's very interesting, because serpent energy, kundalini energy, very, very synonymous with each other. But that's for a whole nother video. Anyway, so I was a hermit for 5 years, basically. I went out into nature. I completely let go. My whole career, I gave up. Basically, I gave up my life pretty much. I gave up my life to understand her. And so and people, I remember it too, and people who may be watching this, like if you were around during the time frame, I know you guys probably were like, oh my gosh, so this is what was going on. So, because people thought I was freaking nuts. They thought I lost my damn mind. Because like, oh my gosh, you have so much good stuff going. Because during this time period, I was really involved in the music side of the business and stuff. And previous year I was on Power 106. DJ Felly Fell had played one of my songs on the radio. That same song was nominated for not only certain music awards, but also got nominated to participate in the Grammy Awards. So I had a lot of stuff going on, as well as getting back into some of my TV shows that I had wrote, that I was talking with Comedy Central on. I had to deal with HBO. I had a whole bunch of stuff going on, and I gave all that up to walk the spiritual path. And so during this whole time, I had no idea that this particular goddess that spoke to me through this priestess was a Anunnaki goddess. And this Anunnaki goddess happened to be Inanna. And oh my gosh, like 5 years during that whole time, because I kind of came out my hermit state in 2016. And I mean, I'm talking about from sleeping out by the beach sleeping in the mountains, being out in nature. Like, I was really on some, you know, Moses 40 days, 40 nights. I was really on some prophet, shit. Like some, going out, separating. Like, I'm in 2015. I got rid of my phone. People thought I was nuts. I got rid of my phone. I went on social media. I had friends of mine. They put me on oh my gosh, like when you're trying missing persons list. Yeah, they thought I was missing. Oh my gosh, like when I first went through my awakening in 2013, and I had blacked out. I woke up in some facility that I didn't even know. Come to find out, I ended up getting sent to a facility because my buddy thought I lost my freaking mind. So a whole bunch of stuff happened. Once again, that's all for another video. I can speak on that. But anyway, I wanted to get up to, how House of the Sacred Woman came about. So it was not until 2015, going into 2016. Okay. So 2015, I went to Mount Shasta in November. And I was told to go there intuitively, okay? And so I went, and when I was there, I meditated on the mountain. I was doing, certain rituals and certain things while I was up there. And I remember I was in meditation, and I spoke to the goddess there, and I was told this name. I was told House of the Sacred Woman. And I remember I wrote it down on my notepad, and I was like, what does that mean? Well, come to find out is that it's in reference to a ancient goddess name that the Hebrews worship in the land of Canaan. And I had no idea about it. And yet it's also mentioned a few times in the Bible, but you really don't get more in depth into her story, not until you really tap into like Sumerian texts and even Phoenician texts. And so that's another thing too, like what people want to call Hebrew is really Phoenician language. You can talk to anyone who is even Israeli. They'll tell you, like, there's no such thing as Hebrew. I used to work for a guy who was Israeli, and he was also Jewish too. And I remember he told me, he was like, there is no Hebrew. Like, he was like, I don't know where. He was like, that's just religious stuff. Like, there's no Hebrew. And I knew what he was talking about. But there is Phoenician. Like, most of them speak like Aramaic. But when you go into like the ancient, like what's known like as, they'll call it Paleo Hebrew. Look it up. Look up Paleo Hebrew. When you look up Paleo Hebrew, it looks exactly like Phoenician. Like it looks exactly like how the same writing that the Emerald Tablets was written on by Thoth. So anyway, so on that mountain, that's when I received the download of House of the Sacred Woman. And I remember I was like, oh my gosh. First off, and once again, this is the patriarchal programming that I had to let go of, because I'm like, okay, now what sense is it going to make for me being a male, and I'm going to create some organization called House of the Sacred Woman? Like, shouldn't this be given to, a woman? Like, why me? And I was told something very profound that I'll never forget. And then I'm not going to even share it on video either, because that's how sacred it is. It's that sacred, That's something else too that I've learned along this journey, that there are some things that are just too sacred to announce to everyone. And so that's something that's very sacred. And so because of that, that has what has led me to right now, basically. Um, Something else unique happened, was the writing of my book, and I had no idea that I was going to be writing writing a book the following year. Had no intentions, wasn't even in my plans, but I knew that I had to set up and write a foundation on what this organization will be building upon. So that's this is my story in, I think it's 25 minutes of how I gotten on this journey. And obviously there's so much more to it, but I didn't want to take up too much time on this, but I wanted to keep it short and simple. And so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And this is a brief little story of how I gotten on this path. So hope you guys enjoy the day. If you're in California, I hope you're staying dry and warm. And if you're elsewhere getting snow, I hope you're staying indoors and being careful with driving outside. All right. Love and life, people. Peace.